Hey, hun, I know this is old and we did go over it in the other encyclopedias, but I got another set and there is so much more. So, y'all, if you click this comment, go back. This is on my other account. Make sure to follow me there as well. And she had asked me if there was anything on witch. There was not specific witch, but there was witchcraft, and we went over it from the set of encyclopedias in the 1920s. Now, this is the set of encyclopedias from the 1890s, the Chambers encyclopedias, and I noticed there is a way bigger section, and I mean like a way bigger section. So it's definitely going to be a multi-part video, but I thought let's go ahead and go over it. Witchcraft. The philosophy underlying the ancient belief in the ritual of witchcraft has been already set forth under the heads of demonology, divination, magic, etc. Here it remains only to discuss the history of this. The most lamentable of human superstitions is modified by Christianity that causes its extraordinary prevalence in the 14th, 15th, 16th, and 17th centuries, and of its gradual decay before the growing light of rationalism and the modern secularization of the human intellect. A deeply rooted popular superstition adapts itself successfully to every form of religious faith, and we soon find all the sorcery of the ancient heathen world embedded in Christianity itself, and turn to a new account in the popular conception of the function of the devil. The fundamental cause of belief in magical processes is the element confusion made by the primitive mind between subjective and objective relations, between the post hoc and the propter hoc, the scanty knowledge of natural causes being filled up with the hypothetical causes of a metaphysical and supernatural character. Magic depends on occult faculties and devices within the control of the magician, who thus becomes gradually differentiated from the priest as the possessor of the illegitimate rather than legitimate means of communications with the unseen. The most rudimentary religions soon come to develop an ethical side. Magic, on the other hand, stands apart from the ordinary adoration of spiritual powers, employing thaumaturgy, spells, incantations, occult devices, rather than prayer, inspiration, oracles, miracles, and omens. Literally the same exact thing, just changing the words. Sorry, I digress. Worship is essentially rational, the natural effect of the assumed theory of the unseen and spiritual, capable of being worked out into a theology. Sorcery, on the other hand, is essentially supernatural and supra-rational, affording no adequate basis for a systematized theory. At the same time, some of its observed phenomena may form a foundation out of which a special pseudoscience may be built up, as in the theory of augury, astrology, oneromancy, and divination, but these harmonize into no broad synthesis of the spiritual philosophy and cannot form foundations for a religion. Sorcery, then, is ever mysterious, occult, and dreadful, and under its sway man continues to be the sport of the gloomy intellectual and spiritual shadows his imagination ever creates out of the mist of the unknown. In perfect analogy, the foundation of all false philosophy, perverting by a false twist at the outset even man's intellectual faculties, and completing the process by leaving his mind a prey to the wildest vagaries of imagination. It may also be the case that the complex nature of man ever craves for an irrational and suprasensible element, a material support around which to cling, and that this remains a necessity to the most highly developed religious senses as well as the most rudimentary. To make the image of a thing is to reproduce it, and it is impossible to distinguish sharply between the visible representation of an object and its invisible and spiritual realization. To burn an unpopular politician is effigy. Okay, I'm sorry. To cherish a lock of hair of one we love, to reverence a Madonna and child in our churches, is not a whit more rational or less irrational, rather, than to torture an enemy by slowly burning his wax image, or to raise a storm at sea by whipping a bucket of water with a switch. For to human nature, in its ordinary conditions, the symbol is necessary to any adequate or lasting realization of the thing symbolized. And when once imperfect analogies and the confounding of the subjective and objective are admitted, any perversity of imagination in the assumption of suprasensible relations between things is intelligible enough. The symbolic is apt to be confused with the magical infliction of injury upon an enemy in such scripture instances as the arrows shot thrice by King Joash on the ground in order to smite the Syrians. 2 Kings 13 verses 15 through 18. And in the horns made by Zedekiah with which to push Syria. 2 Chronicles 18 verse 10. While possibly a parallel may be drawn between the practices of making land barren with enchanted stones and one part of the ruin appointed for Moab, 2 Kings 2, verses 19 through 25. Exactly. Do you see how it's literally like this? They try to say it's different, but it's the same thing. We find then a belief in the possibility of sorcery everywhere in the ancient world, among the Chaldeans and the unimaginative Romans alike, and in Hebrew history, the contest between Moses and the Hakamen, or wise men of Egypt, suggests that wonders could be wrought by the Elohim. Dude, I don't have my glasses. The Elohim, Acherim, or other gods. The traditional contest between Saint Peter and Simon Magus is the earliest Christian times show the same belief. And we find the fathers of all unanimous in this at least, that the fact of sorcery is supported by the strongest scriptural and ecclesiastical authority. The notion of the supreme embodiment of evil at the head of the whole hierarchy of hell from the beginning was embodied in Christian belief, and thus the whole human world came naturally to be regarded as ringed round with a countless host of malignant spirits who work way none other than to thwart the divine processes by leading men into the rebellion of sin. The ministry of Satan in the trial of Job, the werewolf-like transformation of Nebuchadnezzar, the necromancy of the witch of Endor rising up the majestic shade of Samuel to pronounce the doom of Saul, the New Testament stories of demonical possession and of dispossessed devils entering into the Gadarene swine and rushing down a steep place with them into the sea. All these, superinduced upon the elemental belief in sorcery, went to form the Christian conception of witchcraft. Even a scripture phrase like the prince of power of the air found only too literal an interpretation in the notion of the transportation of witches through the air to the unholy Sabbath, and of atmospheric phenomena by a natural enough specialization of functions. Rain was usually left to God, rain with hail to his rival the devil. To obtain control over supernatural powers and lift the veil of the future has from the beginning been a dream dear to mankind, and everywhere has been believed to fall within the power of specially gifted men and women, often as the cases of the evil eye and second sight, without any special desire for so peculiar a privilege. Certain natural objects and certain rites and observance have in themselves a mysterious power in producing certain effects, and the art of the sorcerer consisted in the knowledge of these mysterious powers and in the skill to combine and direct them to special purposes. Rhythmic incantations were effective in curing wounds and sickness, many to this day in Presbyterian Scotland preserving traces of Roman Catholic ritual, and magical properties adhere to enchanted stones, wands like the rods of Moses, and the catechus of Mercury, engraved gems, amulets, horseshoes, mole's feet, mystic numbers, especially 7. Animals as the toad and corby, plants as the elder, thorn, hazel, and rowan, the first and last especially as antidotes to sorcery. Okay, come back for part 2. Also think about it, if that is witchcraft, like the incantation, the repetitive, the rhythm, the humming, all music is in that case. Like, I swear these people, okay, I'm sorry, I digress.